YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and we are on a Throwback Thursday again, and now we're going to be taking a look at Empire Total War, which personally was one of my favorites in the Total War series. Actually really liked the multiplayer in Empire Total War. I know some people would be like, Air, you're crazy. That was not the best multiplayer the series had. I actually thought it was some of the better multiplayer, and I'll explain why when we go through. It was slower paced than what you were used to in some other Total War multiplayer. I say that, I don't know, Medieval Total War definitely had a slower feel to it than Rome did. Medieval 2, that is. I liked Empire. I just thought it had an interesting mechanic to it. It's not to say that Napoleon wasn't fun, and it did have some epic battles of its own when you get into the right scenario, because the effects on Napoleon were much better, much better. The smoke effects, just everything in general, for the most part, was better about Napoleon's just look and feel when a battle was going on. But as far as the mechanics of the game and the way that battles played out, I actually really liked Empire a whole lot better. And I really do think that this game gets a lot of crap because of the way it was released. It was released in pretty rough shape as well. But it got some patches, and to be honest, I think it's a lot of fun. The AI was never very good in this game, and that made campaigns a little frustrating, but a lot of folks liked the Darth mod for it. I never tried it, but folks seem to really think highly of it. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward and just get the battle started before I take things any further. Yep, okay, so this is a Prussia versus the United States. I'm playing as Prussia. I would have played as the U.S., but my opponent picked it. It's the only Total War game where I can actually play as my country, so it makes it pretty fun. So here's my Prussian Jaegers here, marching forward. These are light infantry, and these are long-range rifle infantry. And that was one thing that kind of bugged me about Napoleon, to be honest, was that the infantry in it, the light infantry at least, was kind of weird. Rifle infantry wasn't very good in Napoleon, didn't serve a lot of purpose, and light infantry was insanely powerful, and then line infantry was just completely different. Not to say I don't like Napoleon, I just liked this better. Light infantry in this game would basically slaughter things from a distance. It's very good at keeping cav at a distance. They can plant stakes, they can hide behind stakes. I just think there was a lot of interesting facets to the light infantry in this game, and I actually really like the graphics in this game too. As far as the color scheme, the graphics in Napoleon are better, but I kind of like that darker feel, that darker color scheme you get in Empire Total War. So I've got 5 of those Prussian Jaegers, and then I've got, I believe, 6 line infantry, and then 1 superior line infantry, which is right here. Superior line infantry are kind of a cheap guard unit. They can be used to lay down fire by platoon. So there's 2 firing scheme, well 3 actually, in Empire Total War. When you're in early period or certain units in late period, only the front rank can fire. There's very few of those units, but in late period at least. But yeah, so only the front rank can fire on certain units. For the most part, line infantry fires by rank, which means that up to 3 lines deep, the front line will fire, the second line will then fire, and then the third line will fire. It really looks cool, and I think adds an interesting facet to the battles. Fire by platoon is the last one, and units like guard units and superior line infantry will use it. Let's see, here's my superior line. And what it means is that they, again, up to 3 ranks deep, the men will fire off in little groups, so they'll start on this end, these guys will fire, these guys will fire, these guys will fire, and then it just kind of keeps a steady rate of fire on the enemy. So fire by platoon is actually quite deadly, and any basic guard unit or superior line unit in this game will use it. My cavalry is made up of some of my favorite cav units. It's one thing I loved about Prussia in this game. They had some cool cav units. These are just some regular hussars here. And basically I put these guys right behind my line because what I was thinking is, okay, if I get in a fight with American long riflemen, they're quite good. And I was worried that I might have to chase them off, so I put my hussars close to my own light infantrymen to be able to push forward into enemy light infantry and push them back. And we'll see how I end up using them. And then on either flank I have 2 units of, or 1 unit on each flank of 2nd Hussars. This has got to be my favorite cav unit in the game. These guys are awesome. A very fast unit, but also a very capable unit. And then I have 2 units of Light Dragoons, which of course can fire from horseback. They used to be a real nuisance in Empire Total War until they were nerfed down to 70 range rather than 90. And standard line infantry range is 70 on this game. Light infantry would be 90, and rifle infantry would be 125. So the rifles have a very large range advantage on standard infantry and even light infantry. I think my opponent has two... No, he's got a howitzer. Let's see. 2 howitzers. Yeah, so he's got 2 howitzers here, and then he's got a 24-pounder foot artillery here. That's a heavy artillery piece. It could be useful if it was able to get open shots, or I don't know if this unit has canister shot. If it does, then that would be brutal. Units that have canister shot are very dangerous. The howitzer could potentially be a dangerous unit, but he started it too far back here. And right now I can't see any long riflemen, and it's unlikely that any American or U.S. Person using the U.S. as a faction is not going to bring long riflemen. He does have 2 guard units, which I think is pretty funny that America has guard units. I don't use guards when I play as America. I usually just bring like the elite, I don't remember, it's like the 1st Maryland and the 2nd New York and some of those other units. I like bringing those units instead. I also like using Minutemen when I use America, because it's kind of historically accurate to use those irregulars. Just a lot of fun. Yeah, so he's got, what I can see right now is 2 line infantry here. He's got 2 guards on this flank. And then back here he's got another line infantry. Here's some long riflemen, so these guys are on the map. I'm going to have to be careful. He's got 2 more line infantry pushing through this gully here. And these guys are going to be in some danger. You know, I can put my men on the cliffs or whatever. So, and also, I love terrain features like this in Empire. A lot of people would have probably come over here with their light infantry and put stakes right here to keep cavalry from being able to pass through. That was always an interesting facet of team battles, was staking out terrain and having to understand the terrain. Terrain makes a huge, huge impact on the battles. You can imagine these long-range Prussian Jaegers here. They have to have line of sight. And on Empire, your guys will go ahead and fire into the dirt. If a unit walks into the range and they don't have line of sight, they'll just fire into the dirt. So it's something that you have to be aware of. Anyway, yeah, very cool looking. Got my light infantry here, and you can see some of these guys really do have quite a good line of sight. The guards are right now inside this tree cover, but I'm going to keep slowly pushing my light infantry forward, and over here I'm kind of going to do some harassment, find out if my opponent has any long riflemen back here that maybe are unprotected, see if I could get lucky and take them out, or maybe try and take out his general with my hussars. I'm sure he won't easily let me get his general. Yeah, that's pretty much the situation. So my opponent's I mean, I saw 1 long rifleman pop up back there, so I'm kind of expecting that his long riflemen aren't in a good position to protect his line infantry. So I pushed mine up and opened fire. It's not the best terrain for this, but I am getting a couple of kills. It'll allow me to effectively start harassing his guard units. My opponent should have never pushed his guards within range of my light infantry. He should have kept them hidden in that forest, and then if I pushed forward, he should have pulled back, and then used his light dragoons to try and keep me at bay. He has 2 light dragoons out here, and then I believe he has a regiment of horse somewhere here in the forest. And then, yeah, here's his general's bodyguard. Look, I'm going to go for a charge on him. And look, 2 units of long riflemen. He had a little trap sprung for me here. Don't know if he did this on purpose, but whether or not he did, I fell for it. And long riflemen will absolutely cut down cavalry. And they sure enough did. I was paying attention somewhere else and didn't even see this happen. I kept this unit out of their range, though. But so my opponent now has 3 long riflemen that I've seen, which means that I should have a light infantry advantage, and my opponent is already feeling that light infantry advantage. I love this Indian music they have in the background. It's awesome. The Warpath is a sweet addition to this game. I know a lot of people didn't think much of it, but I sure did like it. Gosh, the N key is like really laggy when you zoom in on it here, but yeah, I'm just gonna let you watch my light infantry shooting these American line infantry as they push forward, and then my own line infantry has opened fire. Here you can see the platoon fire. So see how it's kind of moving down the line here with my superior line infantry. And then it'll start back over at this other side. These guys are already ready to fire. Yep. So you can see that they can lay down a lot of continuous fire, which in this game, volley fire is normally the way things go. But yeah, you can see the line fight is underway. This is a fight in which my opponent's outgunned. American line infantry is not very good, and rightfully so. America was kind of a developing state at this point, didn't have much of a regular army, and the Prussians definitely had a regular army that was very skilled. So the Americans are going to be outgunned. He's bringing up some guards on my flank, and this does concern me. I do have line infantry here to fight, but his guards are very much superior to my line infantry. This is the one place where he is going to have an advantage, so I move my light dragoons to try and threaten his flank. And then out here, my 2nd Hussars and my own light dragoons are battling it out with his light dragoons and regiment of horse, I am going to win that cav fight. And here I've got my light dragoons on the flank of his guards, which gives me a way to shoot them. But I mean, these guys aren't going down real quick, and they are laying down a nice continuous stream of fire. And they've already knocked my my line infantry down pretty substantially. But I moved my light infantry back forward, and this is going to push the Americans back. So my opponent sees that his guards here and his line infantry have broken, and these guys weren't here in time, and now they're going to get isolated as well. So my opponent's attack here was a little bit hasty. He really should have pulled back to his artillery and allowed his artillery to assist him, since he spent money on 3 artillery units. Look at this Hussar running through the forest here. I'm going to bring it back over. Yeah, this regiment of horse that wasn't quite dead, he went ahead and pulled through my men and went for my light dragoons, trying to take them out. And he's basically doing this so that he can help his guards retreat. He wants to save that guard unit. Let's go watch this fight over here. This one's kind of fun. So my opponent brings up these 2 line infantry, and I'm going to turn 3 line infantry to face him, try and get some overwhelming odds. I line up the first one here head on, and I put them 2 ranks deep so that they can lay down a pretty nice volley. Here we'll watch that. So I am going to get the volley on the Americans because they're not in position. Then my second line will volley. And at this point, this unit of line infantry has also laid down a volley. But I'm going to go ahead and do a bayonet charge because I have these guys right where I want them. They're not going to be able to get a good volley off. This unit might get a volley on me. We'll see. But I should be in a good position to charge my line infantry. Ideally, if you get a good volley and you have a chance to charge before the enemy's completely formed, it's better. But he only got a few kills, and that means my men get the charge. And you can see that my Prussian line infantry did alright. The American line infantry actually did fairly well in that charge, but they're starting to lose men, and I have them outflanked. And I'm going to pull in a bayonet charge from behind here. Oh, no, no, no. About to miss it, yeah. Don't want you all to miss this. So here comes the rear charge from my Prussian line infantry. Pretty sweet. I'm going to charge into the American line infantry here and complete the envelopment. Those guys are going to be completely destroyed. They got some sweet animations in Empire Total War, they really do. And if you ever take the time, which I haven't done since I reinstalled it on my new computer, but if you take the time to install like a blood and smoke mod and a musket sound mod, like I think my favorite was Diggy's musket sounds and artillery sounds. Oh man, it adds a lot to the game as well. Makes it very nice. So now my opponent has his howitzers in place. He hasn't switched to explosive shot though. This is a big mistake on his part. When you're using the howitzers, you should be using quicklime or explosive shot. They're definitely much more effective. They're not quite as effective as howitzers were on Napoleon Total War, but they can still be pretty deadly, especially with quicklime shot. If you get a quicklime volley in the right angle into a line infantry unit or a guard unit, it can be absolutely devastating. And quicklime is kind of like some kind of poison, I think, that it shoots. I'm not really familiar with exactly what it was in real life. Yeah, here his long riflemen finally come up to fight my light infantry. He doesn't have these guys in light infantry doctrine, which is basically loose formation. You really, when your light infantry are fighting each other, or any unit for that matter, you'd really rather have them in that light infantry doctrine. It's going to help them kneel down, take fewer casualties, and spread out. These long riflemen are actually really great skirmish units, really good. And they're supposed to have represented the folks in the American Civil War who were using a rifle similar to the Kentucky long rifle, which was pretty notorious in, or I say the American Civil War, the American War of Independence, or as the British probably call it, the War Against the Rebel Scum. I don't really know what you all call it, but we call it the War for Independence, and or the Revolutionary War, I guess we could call it. But yeah, so during that war, the long rifles were used by the Americans in guerrilla-type tactics. And they were pretty readily available to a certain number of folks, and so what's interesting is the American citizen was usually armed with this type of stuff, and that's something that the British had to face. Was a lot of our citizens actually had arms that were longer range and more accurate than the standard issue muskets that the soldiers had. Now, of course, the British training was far and away superior. Their discipline, their training, everything that they had there was extremely superior. It's the reason why typically when we faced them on open ground, we got completely cut apart. But there's some interesting battles to read about in the American War of Independence, both from the British and the American side. It's really interesting to me to read about. You had General Cornwallis, who was an interesting commander. And also you had Tarleton and his light dragoons, which is also an interesting story to read about too. Read about the American who finally kind of put some defeat on Tarleton, kind of had a personal grudge against him. Tarleton was an excellent commander, and I believe he was the guy that they were trying to make out to be the bad guy in the movie The Patriot. They called him Cavington there. But yeah, in any case, he apparently was pretty forceful with his tactics, but from what I read in history, he wasn't necessarily just like a butcher. I don't know, I could have it wrong though, but they kind of made him look like a butcher in the movie, and I don't know if that's entirely true. He was definitely a skilled commander, and a young commander, if I had it right, so he was kind of a young star for the British. And really the American lacked a lot of good commanders. Washington did pull off some victories eventually, though. I don't know a whole lot about the Revolutionary War, not near as much as I should, but it's definitely some interesting stories to read about there. Of course, from a naval standpoint, there was really not much of an American Navy at that point. Here we go. Gonna get some good shots in for my line infantry into these long riflemen who are now surrounded with superior force. Yeah, that looks sweet out there, my line infantry doing the fire by rank. The reload times in this game were kind of long, and that's something that a lot of people didn't like because they're just not like constant action like Follow the Samurai or Napoleon Total War, but I actually like it because those reloading times gave times for cav charges, it gave time for bayonet charges, it just added a lot to the game that I thought was really awesome. Now, by the time of Follow the Samurai, you actually did have some breech-loading rifles, so reload time would have been drastically reduced from the time period you're looking at here. This would have taken place in the 1700s, maybe even early 1800s if you're going to have any type of American army. But yeah, so in any case, the fight's pretty much over at this point. My opponent just has some last remaining units. These guards got surrounded by light dragoons and line infantry, so they're getting shot from two different directions. He's got one last unit of guards here, which is basically a full complement. And then he's chasing my cav over here with a couple of his line units. I'm just going to have to try and keep it away from him. I'm not doing a very good job of it, though, because I'm trying to move my other forces forward. And here I see a unit of long riflemen. I'm like, I can take these guys out with what's left of my 2nd Hussars. And again, this is why I love Empire Total War. Look, these guys are reloading, and I'm like, oh, come on, get there before they reload. Get there, get there, get there. And the Americans are like, oh, crap, must load faster, must load faster. And then sure enough, they get reloaded. One of my men goes down there. I do get the charge off here, but looks like a lot of my men died on the charge, or a couple of them did. Surprisingly, the long riflemen hold their own there, and they get a couple of shots and kill my 2nd Hussars. They were lucky to have lived in that scenario. So my 2nd Hussars got sent to their death. Here's that last unit of guards and line infantry, and I'm working the flank here too with these light dragoons. I'm going to run down this routing unit of guards, make sure that they don't come back. This unit is actually 4 ranks deep. Now it's down to 3 ranks. Yeah, so it's formed up there, but yeah, you can see the guards trying to fire by platoon. They did reform briefly, but see how they start firing on one end and then they work their way through. So there they go. They're going to keep going. But at this point they rout. It's pretty much game over. The American troops are pretty much routing en masse. Yeah, those guards shattered, or are broken with 65 men left, which is definitely, you can tell that it's been a rough battle because guards don't typically rout with that number of men left. There are a couple of last American units here for me to mop up. We got a long rifleman and a line infantry, so I'm going to take care of them. I've just got my Prussian Jaegers trading shots with the long rifleman. And I'm just going to go into a bayonet charge. One last charge for glory. So for Prussia here. Yeah, it's going to be sweet. I loved the bayonet charges on this game. They were awesome. Watching the guys hold their bayonets out and run the charge. So yep, this is the last stand of the Americans. And this map was Bengal, I believe. It's an interesting map. It's got a lot of terrain to it. So it can help shield you from long-range rifles if you use it right, but it's also an easy map to camp if you start on top of it like I did, so that's why I tried to move, so I didn't just camp on top of the map. Make it too terribly boring for my opponent. Anyway, this is a look back to Empire Total War. I sure do love this game. It's a good one. If you don't have this one, I recommend you go give it a shot. It's different than Napoleon and Fall of the Samurai. It's going to be a little slower paced, but the campaign map is cool. Spreads the entire globe. Basically, you have India, Europe, and America as the major theaters. And then, of course, you can sail your navies around the world, too. And it's really a very interesting game, in my opinion. I just really like this one. Hope you all enjoyed this battle. Good game to my opponent. It was fun. And hopefully I can get some more time on Empire at some point. And that's the results. Take a look at the unit statistics. Nothing too great from any of my units, just pretty standard. I didn't exactly waylay my opponent here. He got quite a few kills on me, all things considered. But yeah, so again, this was another Throwback Thursday. We'll be back with more in the near future. Hope you all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing off.